I'm Dan Lutz, and we're here on the front lines. The front lines against the cabal, the deep state, the Lumadonkeys. We're here experiencing all of the different front lines. When we started this 302 episodes ago, or 301, am I off by one? Yeah, 301. So when we started this, it was GCR, the Big Lie. So, Tank and I both came from the GCR, and preaching the benefits and convincing people of what we need to do to move forward, and then we figured it out in some ways and came to find out that it wasn't it, right? It wasn't what everyone proclaimed it to be. And one of the people that I used to listen to get information, to see different perspectives. A lot of people have as well, and basically that's Dave Schmidt. And I just bring it up because there was a January 1st update from him, and I just want to go ahead and play a little bit of that. Let's see, I'm gonna scale this down a little bit. Let's see, can I do something like that? There we go. Well, maybe a little bit more. There we go. So, and some things that from when I was listening to Dave Schmidt on this, I was I'd confirm something and some things not. Right. So it was always like a mixed, how much of what he says is real and in regards to what I knew, right? But some things were real, and so it was always interesting to keep up. But I'm just going to play just a little. It's 19 minutes, but I'm only going to play just a little bit from it. Here we go.
As I had mentioned, I've taken on a new identity here, the Cosmic Connections, the new name. But with also, I'm going to start shifting some of the format of what I've been talking about. Now, my primary message has always been around the currency exchanges, and yes, I will continue with that. But I'm going to start talking about how that folds into and how that correlates with what's coming our way in contrast to how we think. In the past videos in the workshops, I've been sharing some of the books that I've been reading about how consciousness impacts everything around us in conjunction with understanding what is quantum physics and the world that brings about us. Now, that's the larger perspective of what I will be doing. But what I'm also going to be doing in these programs, I'm going to be making a shift where I'm going to start bringing in more guests. Now, if you go back...
I get it. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up. It's just a notice that he's shifting gears. And I think it's important to, notice when these things are happening so that we know that there is something that is, we notice that there's more momentum going in the direction. Now, he hasn't left the GCR. I'm not saying he has. I'm just saying that there's a shift that is occurring. And interesting. He's focusing on quantum physics and things like that. I don't think that's so far out from where he's at, being in Sedona, Arizona. There's quite a lot of metaphysics out that direction, which very much correlates with quantum physics, which has always caused the physicists to pull out their hair. That's why they're all bald. But anyway. It's great that Dave Schmidt is going to be on his new journey there. Did you hear that, Tank?
Dave Schmidt? What's going on with him?
He just said he's going to be shifting his. He's got a new name, a new persona. He's shifting. Wait, he's still doing the currency stuff, but he's making this change. And so I was just pointing out that this is a time of things that are changing, right? And this is to show that there's momentum, because we shifted way far away from the GCR and currency reset stuff. And yeah, it's just one of the. I just wanted to kind of point out that that is happening with Dave Schmidt. Yes.
You know what, Dave Schmidt, last night the governor was talking about the people he called him, right? It was Dave Schmidt. Dave Schmidt and Matthias. They called him, and basically, you know, they didn't outright threaten him, but they were basically like, you know, you don't want to make these people mad and all this stuff about putting that out there for Kim. So.
Okay. So yeah. See, what I was also saying is like I used to follow Dave Schmidt to, you know, on occasion to pick up on things to see what's being said. You know, more intel. All right. And some things I could confirm or, you know, made sense, and other things just, you know, no. You know, the whole thing with the ambassador, right? And Mr. M. Then where's Mrs. M?
Well, you know, Mr. and Mrs. M. Right now, Mr. M. is he is the guy who does the White Hat reports, right? And I think I don't know if he was former CIA or something like that, right? But I was taking all these random calls from people, and as far as I knew, I'm like, you know, the guy's wrapped up with, you know, dark stuff, right? So him and Mrs. M, who I think her real name is Melissa or something, or Michelle, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. But they actually, because she's quite gifted, right? So they went up to stay with Kim, you know, several years ago for a while. And they were going to work with Kim, and they were helping her with the trust, right? So while they were helping her, there was another woman too. I can't remember her name, but they were trying to help Kim. Oh, and I think the other woman might have been Tommy's ex-girlfriend, or maybe his current girlfriend. I'm not sure. So, but Kim told me that like she was really that woman was really, really gifted. Right, and she really had the DNA and the capacity and the spiritual gifts to really work on some of these higher level things. And she said she basically, you know, Kim was, you know, she was a real friend to Kim for a while, but the guy kind of pit her against Kim, and he was kind of like you know, some weird, you know, creepy, said like, you know, kind of wanted to be, he thought himself to be like Amenhotep or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so that he could have many women concubines. I think at one point he actually, you know, propositioned Kim to be part of some weird thing, you know, something like that. So, you know, yeah. So that was all very interesting stuff, you know, and you know, I mean, everybody's got their own preference. You know, I'm not speaking ill, I'm just saying it is what it is. So, but eventually, what happened is he said something too provocative in front of Kim's daughter. And Kim was like, hammer down, get out. And, you know, but then Kim even, just to give you an idea of how humble Kim has been about this whole thing, she drove these people, like she drove a van out to pick them up because she needed help, like 13 hours by herself to drive them all the way back. Like, got them a place to live. And it was just fascinating. You know, but it didn't work out.
Didn't work out.
They got.
Well, you know, so I mean, I think that there was some good intentions there. I mean, but the things that just didn't quite. Of course, remember, I came in this right into Swiss Indo, right? Well, not right into. I had my about a year prior, all of 2014, really being educated by my friend Ralph, who was former CIA. And he was kicked out because he tried to take action on bonds, right? And they made him they unpersoned him and his partner. They put in jail and never went to trial. But you know, wow. But he was educating me on these things, and it's like, and when I first said to him, you know, about the Super Pacellis, right? And everyone's asking me, can we get a hold of these and all this? And he said, just leave it alone. All that stuff's been already redeemed, right? And but it kept going on, right? For for like like this month and month and month and after month, and he finally said, well, he checked a little bit, and some attorney he dealt with, he said, yeah, there's something going on, and he didn't quite understand why and what and whatever, but he still would. So it was a whole year before we really started getting into it. It wasn't until the beginning of 2015 that actually changed, right? And but I got that education at that point, just him telling me about what he was doing in China and in the Philippines and in Africa, and the dealings with the Vatican Bank and the Knights of Malta, and, just all of this, background information stuff that though I've heard it over the years, I never had someone who was personally involved that actually did things, to talk to.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Right, right. So, but then, when I came out to the Philippines, it was the beginning of 2015, right after Ralph ended up dead of a massive heart attack at Salt Lake City Airport. The same thing had happened to that attorney he spoke with, like to confirm. He had a massive heart attack in another airport, and then so right after that, I'm out in the Philippines. A month later, I'm at Swiss Indo, right? And so, starting to really pick up on what to do with these things. Then I'm listening to David Schmidt. I'm investigating. I'm trying to get information about these kind of things, and started my trips to China. So when Dave Schmidt would say something about Mr. M, I know, M being at the time for me was, Bapak Suki, Mr. Sino AS, the M1 figure, right? So when they said Mr. M, right, I'm going, what are they trying to say here, right?
Right.
And because they made it very like secretive and can't really say much, and so anyway, I was always taking the stuff he said with a grain of salt, and I got I liked listening to his stuff. So and I just found it interesting that he's done this shift, right? He's come out January 1st and says, okay, I'm now this. I'm doing this now. I'm still tied in with that, but I'm doing this. So I think that's just a sign of things to move away from that GCR stuff, right? Which is, I think, is a good sign. Not saying that Dave Schmidt said he's leaving that. He said he's not. But, it's like one step going this direction means, all of a sudden you're not doing something.
Right. Yeah. It's really, I'm excited. This is what we've been working for all along. It's finally get to a point where you're about to witness a massive shift, and I fully expect us to for a lot of things to go live all at once over the next month, and I think you're going to see all types of could potentially seem like radical changes. Maybe the general public will be less sensitive to it than those of us who are tuned into this stuff all the time and kind of live and breathe this. But I think that what you're going to see is that this is the liberation of humanity, and you are on the front lines, literally at this moment. We're
This
on
is
the
it.
front lines.
This has been it. It's been the front lines, and we continue. Well, in part of the front lines is watching this impeachment. Did you actually get to see the impeachment articles?
I have not. Well, no, actually, I did.
I'm sharing them with you right now.
Okay.
So we could take. I'm going to show it to everybody. Yeah, let's make this bigger. So This is the United States Articles of Impeachment, House of Representatives resolution impeaching Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, for the following crimes and misdemeanors. Number one, we didn't win in 2016, and number two, we can't win in 2020.
That's great. It looks so official too. When I looked up, I was like, "Wow, that's really official, man." I didn't know. I was wondering why they use this. Like,
yeah, why did they put it? Why did they put it on parchment? You know.
Yeah, like why did you put it on like old paper? I'm like, that's really official. Wow.
Anyway,
yeah, that is the most accurate description of the impeachment I've seen, though.
Yeah. Well, this was on this actually was first posted in the WWG1 WGA Love Telegram group, and of course it led to the qmap.pub themes, and it's excellent, right? So that's why
it's excellent. It's perfect. Yeah, whoever did that, I love it. Please come work for us. Do some things for us too.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that just catches your eyes and oh yeah, this is perfect, because these kind of memes really show what it's all about. I mean, that's case closed.
That is a great meme. Yeah. This I have to laugh at like what's happening right now. I mean, keep in mind, right? With Kim, you have the key integrated monetary system. You have the key intelligence and military system. And remember, there's two more Kim systems, right? And I will say, if I can read between the lines, because Kim did not say these exact words, but I believe that the other two Kim systems have been launched, and they're fully functional. That's my understanding of some, my interpretation, right?
Yeah.
And I will say that over time, I have many times over this past 2 years, I've been in very, very tense and stressful situations with, moving people into position to transfer money into funds all over the world, right? And we've been in these, very tense moments trying to transfer money with Kim, right? And we've been on the phone with banks and, and all types of trustees, and then also like where Kim has done all this work behind the scenes that I wasn't involved in, but I knew she was building something, and she'll tell me when she's launched, and she launches, everything goes through, then something happens. There's a hack. There's something that messes it up, right? And every time she goes, Kim always kind of hedged her bet a little bit and say something like, she'd say, "You know what? Pray. Let's hope everything goes okay." She'd say, or something like that, right? Always, confident that she'd done the right thing, but aware that there's so many things that they're doing. It's very hard to plan for all of it, right?
Right.
And I gotta tell you, the past 48 hours, there is not a slight hint of doubt. She doesn't even seem like she's gonna blink hard if they try to do something. I've never heard her or felt her so confident that this is done.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, Happy New Year again. We're here. So,
yeah.
Now
that could take a few weeks or a month to be, to communicate to everybody else out there, or not. I mean, everybody, the product owners and things like that, right before that really officially starts.
Right.
But what is very, very exciting is I think everybody would rather know that we actually are in control of the money, right? Or Kim's in control of it, and there's nothing that's stopping it anymore, and that things are in however the process is the way she defines it, right? Because I don't, I know some things we've set up over time, but where she is now, like until she tells me exactly what the instructions are, which I expect tomorrow, we don't know. But wouldn't you rather people, like real people that are going to tell you what's going on, that aren't going to speak in cryptic terms of, ancient Chinese elders. When it's happened. All I can say, it's all I can say. By the way, everybody who says that, it's because they don't know. Just for the record, right? Whenever they say that, they don't know more than what they're saying. But we have a pretty, I think, clean track record, Dan, of telling everything that we have, as much as we can, right? Like if we don't tell you when we get it right away, like eventually we're going to tell you, not eventually, like within days or something, like as long as no one's in danger, like we share it, right?
Yep.
So I think that's very exciting that we had this opportunity to kind of give the play-by-play of what was happening in the moments that humanity was liberated, right?
Yes.
And I take that very seriously, kind of as a historian, on some level, and very honored to be part of this history. I recognize the gravity of it.
Yeah, can you imagine not doing something? Can you imagine just sitting back and just watching and eating popcorn, while everything else was being done by other people to get things done? I wouldn't want to be in that looking back and say, oh, I could have done more. I could have done this, I could have done that. I should have done this, I should have done that. I mean, I don't live my life where I in the coulda, wouldas, and shouldas. I try to do whatever I can, in the moment all the time. Sometimes it doesn't seem like I'm doing too much, right? But it's not that I'm not trying to do something in that way, right? Every time I say the word try, I hear Yoda in the back of my head saying, "Do not try, do."
Yeah, you're right, man. I agree. Like I think about this all the time. Like I was a college wrestler, and I wrestled my whole life, and I played other sports too. But I remember it stuck with me at some point. One of my coaches said, somebody else is doing something right now, like your opponent, right? Right now, while you're resting. So, and when they beat you, they'll beat you, right? So I always would think about that. I mean, I would train. So I was never really a great wrestler, but I had a great record because I trained so hard. I wasn't naturally gifted or anything. But I got lucky, I guess. Well, not lucky. I worked hard enough. I repeated the same things enough that my body remembered it. But
I did some wrestling when I was in Pennsylvania, but I transferred schools to California, and when I did that, there was no wrestling where I went. So I think I maybe did like 2 or 3 matches, something like that, and that was it. But I have a base understanding of wrestling, and but that's no way am I even more than a novice in it.
Yeah, but my point is there's just something to be said about. That's why we're doing this, right? That's why we're 300 plus. I cannot believe. By the way, I was talking to somebody about it today. I'm like, I cannot believe we have done.
I could have said, Watch Tank, we'll be doing this 200 episodes, right? Instead, I said 300. I could have said 200.
That's what I thought. Remember when you said it too? Yeah. I was like, no, don't say it, Dan. Don't say it.
But it's it needed to be 300. That's the way I look at it. It's like it just is. It goes back to that Matrix in the Oracle. It says when Neo knocks over the vase, and she says, "What's really going to bake your noodle is would you have knocked it over if I didn't say something? If she didn't notify him to watch out for the vase."
Right. Just leave it. Right.
Yeah. So.
No, it's like either you're a very powerful manifester or a prophet. Either one. It's a win-win for you.
Yeah. There you go. And I think it's both, actually, at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. Calling your shots. Yeah.
I mean, I used to practice my manifesting. I manifest parking spaces, and and I would do it before I left for the grocery store. All right, my parking space is there, and I just focus on before I left, and it usually was there, and if it wasn't, my mind was on something negative. That's what I noticed. What am I thinking about? Why is my parking spot not there? There's something negative. So
Yeah.
I unmade it, right? So that was, and I did that for over a year until I finally just said, my parking spot is always there.
My parking spot.
So
Yeah, you know what? I do the same thing. It's funny you say that. And I live in New York, so like when you go to the city to have that kind of ability is very valuable.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I was in L.A., so still
Yeah.
a lot of cars, and it's just being part of the flow, right? You just same. Well, I didn't get upset. Road rage. Something I handled very early in my driving, careers. But at a point where it was, I recognized that if I'm cut off by someone, thank you very much. Really from honestly thanking them for delaying me enough so that everything works out better. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
yep, I get it. And I do the same thing. And what's amazing to me actually in the reality that we actually exist in is that everything is made up of these, very powerful, quantum particles, right? That all communicate and connect with one another. So the ability to manifest a parking spot or to, change the world financial system or manifest whatever it is that you want it's the same thing, really. I think that's something that is, part of what Kim did when she allowed the source energy, kind of gave it a backdoor entrance, right? Because they had all these webs and blockades and things like that up, I guess, excuse me for anybody who actually knows what that is called, in my very basic understanding, but there's all these things that were blocking this source, energy from the central sun to reach the planet, right? It really diminished our growth, our health, our all types of things, right? So what Kim really did is she opened up every single electronic device so that the source energy was flowing through and out of these devices that they were using to destroy us, right? Part of the reason why, I'm not worried about 5G, right? Because in this, looking at these devices, all this source energy is poured through it. Now, and I've seen this. I don't know if anybody else has ever practiced, like really exercising yourself to see these kind of God particles, these light particles that are in the air and all around us, right? And that is the substance of the central sun or source, right? And it's the substance of everything, right? It's like looking at the Matrix, and to have that so abundant at this point, part of the awakening of that a big part of it was that Kim opened that doorway. So all the time that people were looking at the, I can see from the time she did that was April of 2018, to now, how it has completely revolutionized and changed the direction of this awakening, this great awakening of the people, right? So you have all this available here now, and then you have this most recently, kind of my conclusion from this is that the source energy had reached a point where the collective vibration was strong enough to change momentum, right? To actually overcome the destroyer as a collective, right? Is that the energy of all the people waking up, wherever that is, however many that is, if it's a few thousand or a few million, I don't know. But I do think that that's such a powerful thing that I think everyone should claim as their own victory, and claim their part of it. And then in that, I think that one of the most important things to do in any victory or loss, for that matter, is to be grateful, right? To be very appreciative. And I feel very incredibly appreciative to Kim for staying the course. I have had the privilege of working with her, but not nearly as close as Thomas, who's up there, right? Although she's kept me very well informed, for the most part. It's such an incredible thing that I've witnessed. but I've never seen like the 100 ninjas that came to kill them, right? like I wasn't part of that, So, but I know that happened. And,
I'd like to see the security camera footage.
Oh my gosh, I would love to see that. But anybody who wants to see it, you will be able to see it when we produce a movie. Because I promise you, I will get that in there. So just Kim's story is incredible, and anybody who's new to watching us who sees this now or in the future, if you ever want to get a more in-depth look at this, go back to the Speak or go to the Speak Project, go to Tank's blog, go all the way back to December of 2017. Read it straight through because I literally was doing at least one, sometimes 2 or 3 posts a day, and I was detailing the action as it was happening. And everything in that is as I was learning it, I shared it the whole way. To every time they tried to hack the trust, to the actual override codes for the United Nations server. I mean, like everything I put out. So
amazing.
Step one.
But yeah, I've been thinking, where to start this story, right? I mean, do you start back like 16,000 years ago? Where the 5 tribes and the kangaroo skin. Do you start it, back in Egypt? Where they're throwing off the shackles of slavery after the 500 years of that debt-based system. When it came to an end and the people rose up and threw it off. All right, where do you start the story? It's very there's so much, right? It's like we could go back 2 million years, right, and go from there. We can go from when did the Anunnaki first get here, right? When did what is the interplanetary or the intersolar system or intergalactic politics, between like reptilian and insect races and the humanoid type races. So where do we start?
Okay, so I know this. I actually know the answer to this question.
Okay.
Right. So, and I know this because a year and a half ago, I had this profound experience, right? There's an article on the Speak Project called History of the Future, right? And I've never had anything like this happen to me ever. But I was suddenly, I guess, downloading or channeling some information from, I guess, like my future self, right? And it was so overwhelming. I just kind of zoned out for like 2 hours, and I wrote this whole thing, right? And when I was done, I was like, where did this come from? But it was so real to me, right? And it was me in the future, like 500 years in the future. And I was speaking on like this weird, intergalactic educational platform of some kind, because I could see that there was people all over the galaxy that tuned in, right? And I was describing literally the liberation of humanity. And I described it and described coming back to this moment right now, and describing what it was like, and coming back to experience this so I can remind myself of what it felt like to feel so helpless and so powerless. And I went through the whole experience from that standpoint, but it was in the future, right? And I actually, I mean, you can go back and, I mean, like there's a million timelines, so I'm not trying to say that it's, going to be exactly that way. I'm just saying the way I experienced it, I could see exactly how we would tell the story, right? Because we'd start telling the story by saying it wasn't always like this. You didn't always have these opportunities the way it is now. Just trying to teach the next generation.
So you're starting the story in the future.
Yep.
Yeah, I got it. All right. I think it's a good way to go and say like where we're manifest that future, write out what that future is, right? What does that look like, and then look back from there. It's very powerful.
Yeah. But it's amazing. What is going on right now? I mean, Kim just said, this year is going to be, it's going to be an amazing year.
So what?
She told me that today.
And so what? Well, did you have a report from Kim? We didn't quite handle that.
I will tell you that I wished Kim a happy New Year this morning, and I thanked her for staying the course. And she told me that she was very excited. Said happy New Year back. And she said, it's our turn now. what she said.
That's the same thing that
Oh,
Trump.
she also said, it's our turn now. She said, no looking back.
I think Trump said something along the same lines, or maybe that was in a meme. Yeah, it's like, now it's my turn.
Yeah. But I do think there is some things that all came into alignment on a universal scale. I do think that humanity has been on trial, and I know for me personally, I don't claim to understand these things, nor do I claim to be an expert in these things. However, I will tell you that I am giving an honest report when I tell you these things. Is that I've been walking down over the past 2 years, right? I've been walking down the street, and all of a sudden I'm in a courtroom, right? In my consciousness, making a case for humanity. And I can tell you that some of my own experiences that I've had, that I've seen stood before different courts, I guess, or different councils of some kind. And at one point, in the fourth dimension, where it just seemed like it was the highest, they thought it was such a higher way of thinking. It was they were all suppressed by this, martial way of thinking, right? This militant way of thinking with, Marduk and Anu and the destroyer, all these things. Like, they were all suppressed into thinking there has to be this structure, there has to be this order,
Right.
And humanity is too out of control. And then, because they were vengeful, they were worried that we would be vengeful, because they sat back and allowed it to happen, right? While this other group just raped and pillaged and broke all the natural laws of the universe of engagement, things like that. Mm-hmm. And I had to make the case to demonstrate that that's not it. I mean, that was one, and I've made that case in different ways in front of 3 different councils that I've seen, that I experienced myself. Now, that could just be me experiencing someone else. I don't know exactly how that works, but I can tell you that I know, definitely that I've had those experiences. And I think that is just a symbol of all humanity, that all of us have been on trial, and that it's really been about, some, I don't know if it's percentage or what it is, but there's something to be said about, the way you started this thing, Dan, is, like, what more could I have done, right? If we had failed, how could we have lived with ourselves if we did not give everything we had, right?
Right.
And I use this example all the time. That, there's like a passage in the Bible where there's a rich man who comes and he gives a whole bunch of money to the church or the synagogue or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then there's a little old lady and she's got 1 penny, and she gives that 1 penny to the church. And the Messiah's like, which one gave more? And whatever their answers were, then the Messiah said, the old lady gave more because she gave everything she had. Right?
Yeah. Now,
I'm butchering that story, but I always think about that. Yeah. That if when push comes to shove, one, I'm never sure exactly what our limits are, right? Personally, I realize part of being alive is to constantly be expanding those limits and realize that they're just not there. Yeah. We're not limited by anything. It just takes us a little longer to believe it.
I hate being limited, especially like on my cell phone plan. That was like one of the things, is whenever they'd have like an unlimited plan, you sign up for it in the beginning. So, oh, good, I'm good, right? And you're on it for like 7 years, and they keep trying to upgrade you so that you get off of that plan.
Right.
Because I don't know, I'm happy being unlimited, right?
Right.
Man. Yeah, it's one of any time a type of limitation, it didn't, when you're trying to do it, it all goes back to these accounting principles, right? Babylonian accounting, right? It's this, you have to get something for something, right? And it's kind of hard to kind of put it in a metaphysical framework, right? Where you're not doing that, because there is an exchange that's happening, right? But it's not something that's quantifiable, because you don't know what's coming back to you. But it's going to be good.
Right. Well, to your point, like, think about it. If you have source, right? The ultimate source, substance, limits, bounds, essence, and origin of all things. There is no limits to that substance, right? It's the light, the dark. It's the all in all, right? So if the all in all now, if we are all, on some level, if you can abstract some, truth from, any scriptures, there's principles that repeat. One of those principles, this idea that we're made in the likeness and image of our Creator, right? So it's the most natural thing for us to be, which is the one thing that they've tried to dismiss. They've tried to really make it something you can't really even hardly make a living doing, is to be a creator, to be an artist, right? To be, just someone who's naturally expressing their creative nature, right? Matter of fact, they made something where you pretend to be someone else, the most honored art style, right? Being an actor. But that's what they esteem. But when you really think about what it means to create something from nothing, right? And to take something that you imagine and bring it into the world, that is a quality that you get, that you inherited from your father, so to speak, right?
Right.
Spiritually or symbolically, or however you want to see it. Now, if that's the case, you would have to have an unlimited source you could draw from, so that you could be the best version of yourself. Because if the source is not unlimited, then you can't possibly have an unlimited, potential or possibilities that you can create with. Or the source of your existence is negligent, that they didn't provide what you need to be the best version of yourself, right? So I don't believe that that's possible, that God is negligent or source is negligent, right? He's given us all we need. It's all here. But there's just been this other entity that has been in existence with us, that has been trying to suppress us. But ultimately what they've done is they have pressed us forward, right? Like blood pressure, right? Blood pressure moves you forward. And all of this negativity that has existed, all of these evil entities that we hate so much, we're so mad about, we don't need someone else to get rid of them. What they have done is they have sharpened us. They have defined us. They've allowed us to highlight the light that is within all of us, right? And that is what is so powerful about this moment in history, is that we have spent so much time looking for tangible results from this effort, knowing there's a better way, knowing that there's more to this life that we're in. And we are, I guess, the first generation in 16,500 years to actually have the opportunity to live up to that potential, to just find ourselves in a situation where we'll actually be able to shine. And you can't quantify the value of that. You really can't. If you know the moment you're in right now, I would say to anybody out there, consider yourself very honored and privileged to know the moment that you're in, how powerful this is. Because you've got billions of people on this planet who don't have a clue. And you're in one of these very small groups that realize a change has taken place. You're on the front line of it, and you have rights, but they are very much your responsibility. And it's the greatest responsibility you could have, really. So, I'm excited about that.
It struck me about something I wanted to share. I'll have to make a screen for it. I'll share it with you first. This is a kind of a part of a presentation I made, and it's just one section of it. It's about a dozen slides, but let me go ahead and show this to everyone. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay, so I just lined up a little bit better. So basically, I would ask this question, from people. It's like, what has more value? This solid gold statue of a beautiful woman, right? Or a living beautiful woman, right? I'd ask the question because a lot of people, and I'd act personally, I'd say, because people would often say the gold statue has more value. And this is another one, gold statue of a Buddhist, right? Or an old Buddhist, which has more value. Right? Yeah, so I mean, it's really, to have this range to show, that what has more value. Well, what's the difference? One is the price is set by the gold market, right? And the other is infinite in value. It's priceless,
Right.
right? And this is really what struck me, because you said this is because we're creators. So this one is also part of it. So this is the artist Mark Quinn. Which is more valuable, the artist or his solid gold statue, which is in a very interesting pose, right?
Right.
Right. Well, of course, it's after that it's the artist, right? He says infinite value, right? Because he can make an infinite amount of statues, figuratively, right? But he can keep making more and more statues. There's another way of looking at it. And then this last one was, which has more value? The debt slave or the sovereign? Right? It's a trick question because they both have equal value. It's just the debt slave doesn't know it.
Well, that though is the big difference, right?
Yeah, that's it.
It's interesting you say this because I talk about this a lot in this book, The Prophet. He said all of our power is in our awareness of our power, right?
Yes.
So if you're not aware that you have billions of quantum particles communicating with every other quantum particle in the world, that the time and space are an illusion, that we are separated from anything that we want, anything that we ever were or anything that we ever want to be, is an illusion. Everything, all of your power is in this moment of creation. In this present moment is where all things are possible that you are creating as we speak. You are what's holding the clouds in space. You're what's holding your problems in place. You're what's holding your house together, right? That power is all within you, right? That's all within you. And one of the things I always think about when it comes to value, right? Like I always think about this with my kids. I always want my kids to, I got this line from Steve Jobs, and I love it. I want my kids to know the value of something, not the price, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think about this. Now, we assess value based on how rare something is, right? So when they want to manipulate the gold market, they release more gold. Mm. When they want to manipulate the diamond market, they release more diamonds, right? The less diamonds there are, the more valuable the diamonds are that you have.
Yeah.
Well, think about how the reason why they're so terrified of us, right? Because there's only one you.
That's why they want. That's why they want your DNA and to copyright you.
Yep.
And would they allow that? That's just slavery.
Well, and that's why they want us to be in a perpetual state of insecurity, of fear, of doubt, of worry, right? That's why the news only talks about things that are negative. That's why people like Simon Cowell are famous, right? Who can be mean with the most flair, fool you into thinking it's creative. On New Year's Eve, I took my kids up to Dave & Buster's, right? It's like a casino for kids, right? It's like all video games. Oh my goodness, right? And you play these games and you get like tickets, right? And then you take the tickets over to this garbage store where everything's junk in the store, right? And you have just enough tickets to not get what you want, right? And and all the stuff's junk, all of it, right? But my kids were stressed out, right? My daughter was a mess. I mean, she's 6 years old. I was like, I'm never bringing her back here, because the whole experience, the whole thing, is because they took something that was like, oh, it's a bunch of games, you think it's fun, right? Well, first of all, 60% of the games were kill games, right? They were CIA training modules, right? And some of them were incredible. Like, don't get me wrong, like they're really cool games, right? Like you fly a spaceship, or you could be killing zombies, right?
Right.
It's interesting and it's fascinating from a creative standpoint. but you're basically training kids with like very realistic tools, right? Like it's very realistic situations now, especially it's so advanced.
Well, it's the same that when I first heard that Deep Think, that this Google AI that they first got training, was they put it in a situation of all these Atari games from the old Atari systems, right? And got it to play all these Atari games, which were all about life and death. You're gonna die unless you win, right? You either win or die, and that's what they trained it on, right? So you have a baby, right? And the first thing you give it is a gun and say, shoot this, because it's coming to kill you.
Right.
Right. So why would you start training an
Space
AI?
Invaders, Pac-Man. I mean,
yeah.
You're running through a maze. You're being chased by ghosts.
Yeah.
You got to eat your way out. I mean, everything about that is, oh my gosh, I don't want any of these things to happen to my kids, right?
Yeah. So if you have like a new intelligence that you want to train to interact with humans, the first thing you tell it is, you're in a dangerous situation. You got to protect yourself. Right, and so what happens with this AI is it says, well, I better protect myself from the humans, right? And then you have Skynet, right? So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. These people, they're trying to manifest a situation, that I even think the archons are basically artificial intelligence. This whole thing is a repeated cycle, right? And I guess I guess I don't know if I got this from David Wilcock or whatever, but they're saying that the Galactics won't let an AI become sentient on this planet, that kind of thing, because they fight it no matter where it happens in the universe, right? They'll stomp it out because it just ends up killing everything that's biological.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you see that repeated. But what's so fascinating with the AI, like, I mean, not to even call it an AI, the quantum system, right? That initially when Kim and I were talking about this, she said, like, now the problem with it, she was basically, all an AI is a mapping system, right? So it's mapping out probabilities, it's mapping out what's real, what's here, what's present, and then it's mapping out probabilities, right? Like, how will this grow if this situation has changed, if this part of the environment changes, right? But this AI was set for such a long time to gather just a limited set of data, right? So in what we consider true intelligence, right, doesn't really come from the accumulation of knowledge, right? It comes from the experience of, being willing to live your life for something, which stems from love, right? Because when you're willing to live, now people say this all the time. It's actually, best by knowledge comes from the Bible. There's a scripture in the Bible, and what it says, it's like John the 3rd chapter, 1 John the 3rd chapter, something like that. He says, "Greater love hath no man than this, than to give his life for a friend." Now, they've manipulated this text, but that's what it reads. That's what it's supposed to read. Now, the way we see that is, man, I'm willing to die for you. But that's not what it says. What it says is to give your life. Now, when you give your life for someone, you've got to live it, right? It is much more powerful to live your life for a principle, to live your life for your kids, or for the one you love.
Instead of giving up the life,
right?
Giving over,
giving up your life,
giving over,
right?
Yeah, so that's interesting.
And that is a big difference.
Yeah.
That's the big difference right there. And that's what they portrayed it as, but that's not what is real. What it really means, what that scripture really means.
I call shenanigans on them again.
Yeah, exactly. Shenanigans. I call shenanigans, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still up to their old shenanigans, twisting things, around to suit their own selfish reasons.
Yes, I think your intro is great, actually, Dan. That's exactly true.
Yeah.
Right. So
if we
you know,
find
so
more
I
of these
just-
things, let's just call shenanigans every time we find more of more of these things that they've done after their
Right.
old things. You know, it kind of puts perspective on it too, because you know they did what they did, and as you said, it's tempered us, you know, and forged us into a much you know, tougher metal, right? You know, we've gone through the crucible. We do all these references, but in other words, you know, we've come out stronger, right? Probably the strongest that's ever been in existence from all
well,
time.
you know, and I look at, look, even the dark, you take an artist. I love these. I'm an artist, but I'm always amazed at these artists in Manhattan who are just like sitting on a street corner, around Central Park, and they'll be sitting there drawing sketches of portraits, right? And they're amazing. And I've studied these guys for hours, before just watching the way they do it. And I can do portraits actually, but they're amazing, right? And I watch them as they'll make an area darker, right? And it's a flat surface, but they'll take an area and they'll make it darker. And what that does is it creates this depth that pushes backwards, and then it highlights these other features, so you get the illusion of this three-dimensional image, right? So their darkness, all it's done is magnify or highlight who we are, right? So, but it's all part of the same picture, right? And that's something that I try to keep in perspective with, not being filled with hate, right, and vengeance and wanting to get even, and anything like that, right? It's like there's a place for them. It's just not on the same plane that we are, right? The very nature of having depth and darkness puts it backwards or behind us, and then the highlights, they naturally come forward. And I just think that's where we're at, and I think that's part of the reason why the Universal Council, they put that terminology in there where they said, it's something like it's your time to shine, right? And and that one night we had, what's his name on here? I just forgot his name. Sorry, man. But he was reading that quote, and he was saying, we are not afraid of our darkness, right? Something like that, right? What we are afraid of is that we're exceptional. I'm butchering. You get the point.
Sure,
we're afraid to be exceptional. We're afraid to be outstanding and outspoken. We're afraid to do that because that path seems lonely at times.
Right.
But now's the time to do it, right? Now's the time where whatever you've held back on, don't hold back. Don't hold back to make somebody else feel comfortable.
Yeah, I'm not holding back.
I know you're not.
Yeah, no, this is the time. If you've been waiting on doing something, this is the time. Don't think that the man is going to keep you down. This is the time to shine and just ignore the man. whatever you basically bought into as the reasons why you can't do something, right? Now you can just let those go, right? And because we've entered a whole new reality.
Yeah. So, I think one of the things that's tough for people right now is a lot of your people that would consider themselves to be awake, right? They went the way of the RV, and so interesting. Somebody reached out to me the other day, looking for help with from Lawful America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in this, I could tell they hadn't been paying attention to anything I'd been saying because they were still holding out the RV.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, man, like I'm sorry to be the one to break this to you again, but that is never going to happen. The RV is never going to happen.
And we're going to make sure it doesn't.
Yeah, right. And
by the
thank
way,
God, because it would have been the zombie apocalypse, right?
Yeah. So yeah, so many people are still waiting because they do think that they're going to get something out of it, right? That they're going to be able to able to go do these things with this unlimited amount of wealth that they're now going to have, and they don't really know what that's going to do to the world.
Yeah.
They haven't thought about it. They thought about only, how they're going to spend the money, right? And they get around to their projects, on day two, right? They spend all this money, right? But then if everybody's doing the same thing, they don't realize how much it's going to affect the economies of the world. I've talked it through a few times with people. And I said it's all right because we're going to be giving them jobs and they're going to be able to make money and we'll even pay them more. Oh, they've got more money too. Great. What about the people that haven't got jobs? Well, we'll get to them. All right. Well, no, they can't afford food. How fast are you going to be before you're able to, help them because they're out of food already.
Well, I mean, who's gonna make the food? Because think about it. I mean, the way the RV talks, there's so many gazillions of dollars floating around, and you got you got 2 million people that are really prepared, right? And they understand how the economy works, right? Which
I
think
figured
that's
it was 3 million, but okay, I'll go with 2.
right. But so if you get and it's like I said before, it's how rare something is or how in demand it is that makes it valuable. So if everybody has quadrillions of dollars, because everybody would be giving money away, right?
Sure.
Because if you're suddenly rich, you're going to give away. I gave $2 million to all my friends, right?
Remember,
now all my friends are rich, right?
Yeah, right. But yeah, it's just like Brewster's Millions, right? He could. The whole thing was he couldn't spend it all so quickly. Now you got billions of that you can't get rid of. You can't spread around because there's just one of you, right? And it's going to, and just, even if you give it out to people and say, hey, split it up, and it's just not going to reach everybody. It's just there's just not an ability there to do this. I mean, one of the things that I've dealt with in thinking about this is with these from Swiss Endo on, right? How do you distribute so much, right? How are you going to be able to distribute it, right? What is the mechanism you're going to use? You're going to use a debit card, right? It means everyone's got a debit. Has to have a debit card for you to do it. So whatever your system is, but you have to have it. So how are you going to build it? You're going to get started now. Okay, 5 years from now, you'll be able to start distributing it.
Right.
But what happened?
Exactly.
But what happened to your money in the meantime is that now the whole world went through hyperinflation, and you've got $100 trillion Zimbabwe notes just stamped UTNs.
Right.
Right. As you have these notes, and they can't buy anything, right? Because it's the hyperinflation. Made it into nothing. So
exactly, and that's exactly what, and that was exactly their plan.
That was it. Yeah, yeah. So I hear my wife is singing karaoke. Can you hear her?
Yeah, just barely. Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
Yeah, I tell her come up and go on the broadcast.
Yeah.
She's a good singer. Yeah.
What's that?
I said she's a good singer.
Oh yeah, she's like, star, right? I'm sure she can sing. She probably do it.
Yeah, she's good. She one of her videos that got up to 4 million views.
Wow.
Yeah, she singing on stage with her brothers, and then she would hide behind them when she come out. She belt it out, right? And everyone's cheering and everything, and then she runs behind her brothers.
Oh, that's cute. That's nice. That's a cute thing to be guilty of.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Anyway, so do we want to cover anything else? Are we good for today? We hit an hour.
So I will just say that I think I'm supposed to get a report tomorrow from Kim, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to share that report with everybody. If she says it's okay, and so I would say that stay tuned. If you're not subscribed to the Speak Project, I would expect that as soon as I'm allowed to share information, that I'll go live on the Speak Project. So you may want to stay tuned and turn your notifications on. And Dan and I will definitely, as long as I'm allowed to, from Kim, we'll definitely be talking about it tomorrow night as well.
I'm ready.
That's all I got.
Let's do it. All right, everyone.
All right, man.
We'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks, Tank, and be sure to subscribe and share. Positive comments and thumbs up to everyone, and we'll see. And we'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Good night, everybody.